I mean, there were times when I could take in a couple thousand calories in 30 minutes.
Welcome to Sips and Sets. I'm your host, Nina Silic, and this podcast is all about combining the energy of your morning coffee with the determination you put into living your best life. Sips and Sets is here to inspire you to tackle life head on, one sip and one set at a time. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Sips and Sets, the podcast. I am your host, Nina Silic, and I'm joined with a really awesome lady today, Kim Rosa, who is been a client of mine for a long time, like on and off. We've gone through different stages of your journey together, and I'm really excited to share your journey today because I think it's going to resonate with a lot of women. So welcome, Kim. I'm super excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I love it. I really want to start with you. Like, talk to us about real quick what your life looks like. You're a mom. How many kids do you have? Like, what does life look like? And what did life kind of look like before we started working together the first time? Because this has been the second time really recently, which has been, for me, a really cool experience to see where you've been, where we were. And then now, like it was a very different way of coaching you. So yeah, let's start. I'd love to start there. Tell everyone kind of who you are as a person, as a mom, and kind of where you were before you joined coaching with me the first time.
Sure. So yes, I've been with you, Nina. Can you believe it's been like 3 years now?
Wild.
I can't believe
Blows my
it.
mind.
And we've been through, yes, like you said, many different stages and phases. I'm a mom of two school-age kids. They keep me very busy. A single parent, so that has been something that I've worked around. I wouldn't trade, being a mom for anything, but it definitely makes things a little more challenging at times, as I'm sure, obviously, and many of your clients. But when I first came to you, and honestly, I know you know some of the backstory, but I don't know that you know about some of the things. And some of the things are that, like your background is you were an athlete and I never was. I was someone who kind of always struggled, even from the time I was a child, with just being a little bit heavier, just kind of like it was never an easy thing for me. Now, there were periods of time that I was very fit and a healthy weight and, regularly going to the gym, but they never lasted long, because I was very much back and forth and had a lot of very unhealthy habits, lots of yo-yo dieting and extreme restriction, all or nothing mentality. It was just, I never felt like I had a grasp on it. And when I first found you in 2021, and thank God that I did, um, I had been in kind of a spiral. I had about a year and a half or 2 years before that, I'd gone back to school to further my degree and gained a good 15 pounds during that time. Apparently you can gain the freshman 15 every single time you go back to school. Um, but I had put weight on from that. And shortly after that, I work in healthcare. So came into a period of time with a lot of professional challenges and stress. I started to experience plantar fasciitis in one and then both of my feet, so all these things together was like a perfect storm. I had a lot of personal stressors going on at the time, between the professional demands and the pain in my feet. I had all but abandoned the gym completely. My eating habits were horrendous. I was going from very strict restriction to, geez, if I had $1 for every time I said you only live once. um, just on the rails, off the rails. I used those terms an awful lot back then. And then I decided that I was just spinning my wheels. I was trying the same things over and over, and nothing was working. And I decided I was going to give myself a year to try something different. And again, working in healthcare, I see people that lose their independence. They lose their ability to move and function, and their energy is just shot. And I just wanted to get a grasp on that early before. So, anyway, those were some of the things that I was going through at the time that we first started working together.
Yeah. No, I do remember a lot of that, and especially the plantar fasciitis, if I'm saying it correctly. I always mess up these
Yeah,
words.
me too.
But you know what's interesting to me is that you are somebody that works in healthcare, and I find that interesting. I've worked with a lot of healthcare professionals over the years that you do see firsthand like what can happen long term if someone doesn't take care of themselves. And you also dealing with plantar fasciitis, like you're struggling to like walk, let alone go work out. There's a lot of things popping up for you. I'm curious to know actually like how that made you feel like when you look back knowing like wow, like if I don't make a change now, like this is where my direction is going, because you're in healthcare, you have a sound understanding of what health should look like, what contributes to nutrition, exercise, yet you still were someone that wasn't able to apply it to your own
Right.
lives, which is I think really interesting, and people need to hear that like just because you are in a certain field doesn't mean like you're like, oh, how do I like make it work for me like in this moment of time. So yeah, how did going back, if how did you feel like looking at that, and it sounded like you're looking more at life long term.
Oh, yeah. And I think with healthcare, in a lot of ways, um, it reflects the way we are as parents too, where we kind of, those of us that are parents or caring for a loved one or our parents, or we put everyone else's needs ahead of our own. And that's kind of what happened with me. And I can remember just thinking, like I said, I was in a spiral. What is happening to me? This isn't me. I can remember looking at myself in the mirror. I can remember trying to get up and having so much pain that I even moved like someone else, and I thought, no, this this is not going to be my future. I refuse. This is not who I am. I finally came to a point where I remembered who I was, I guess, and decided it was time to take that back. But unfortunately, for a little bit, when I did that, I thought I could go back to all the same tools I had used before when I was in my 20s and early 30s, and the things that worked for me then. And I was going to do those exact same things, and I was going to get the exact same outcomes, same progress. Everything was going to be exactly the same. But what I didn't realize at first until we worked together for a while was that my life wasn't the same. You know, I had children, I had a different career. It involved a lot of work behind a desk. Things were, I wasn't going out with my friends and dancing twice a week. Things were different. I wasn't 20 anymore. So I had to learn a lot of new ways.
Oh, I think that's such an important point to bring up is like I tried all the old stuff and it wasn't working anymore. Haven't we all
Yeah,
done
I'm
that?
like, I'm
Like
broken.
I raised my hand too. Like I in the past have been guilty of, oh, that worked before. Why is it not working now? Like what is happening? But life looks so different. I love with you that you recognize that. You sounds like you had that aha moment of no, 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 I am not letting this go further and down this path, because a lot of people don't have that until a lot later. And I'm sure like the people you see on a daily basis and patients, they've already got past that point, which is probably very eye-opening for you
Yes,
as
definitely.
well.
Very scary. Very scary. Like you sometimes, and I don't, I mean, there's probably never a point of no return. can always make progress, but I just wanted to get a grasp on it, and yeah, it's just kind of like, okay, this is it. This is your last chance. It's not, but that's what I felt like. It's truly what I felt like at that time. And I had given myself so many excuses and passes and reasons in my mind. I think we've talked about some of them before, things that I told myself to justify what I was doing. And I had to spend a lot of time reflecting, and really thinking about what I was telling myself, what was true and what was kind of a coping mechanism or justification for the bad habits that I had developed.
Speaking of coping mechanisms, let's talk a little bit about how things started to change for you, like when we started working together that first time. I bring up coping mechanisms because you guys, the Chick-fil-A was
I still love Chick-fil-A, by the way.
oh, me too, me too. However, it was like a daily occurrence. Not that
It
that's a
was.
bad thing. No, that's bad. But Kim really, like, you were eating out so ridiculously much
Mhm.
initially, and I was like, okay, we got to kind of talk about how we're going to make this work. And so you were coping a lot through food. I think you started to realize once we were started working together. So talk to me more about some of the things you started to realize during the program.
That definitely was a big one. Um, and again, I was so like I've always been kind of minus that couple of years where I was pretty out of control. I've always been kind of type A. I told myself, you're type A, you're all or nothing. That's the only way you can achieve success, Kim. You have to be all or nothing.
Right.
And that was not true. I just had to learn how to do it. And I give you credit for being so patient through that process because I'm sure it wasn't easy. But they're just, our voice to ourselves is such a powerful thing. And through working with you, I learned how to change the things that I was telling myself a lot of times. I mean, it really and truly is so much like I don't even know, can't put a percentage on it, but the vast majority of all of this is mindset
Mhm.
work. It definitely was for me. And the things that I told myself, and I let myself be feel helpless until I finally just really, like I said, took a look at what I was telling myself and um, and challenged some of the beliefs that I had. Um, I can remember, I thought of something today. You probably don't remember this, but it was so good at labeling good foods and bad foods.
I remember.
And you remember?
Yeah.
And I can remember this one time I was like, is it okay if I have a candy cane? Like it's a candy cane. You were like, yeah.
I was like, oh, what do you
But
mean? Why? Why wouldn't it not be okay? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, but when I was finally able to stop demonizing foods and labeling foods or food groups as good or bad, then they kind of lost a whole lot of their power. I no longer feel like I go off and on the rails. I just have a meal or I have a different meal, and then just pick it up at the next. And I don't feel like I have to clean my plate, you know, because if I'm hungry, I can always eat again later. Or, I mean,
That's a
it's not.
huge, oh my gosh, I need to stop you there. That's a huge one. Like, if I'm hungry, I can have more food later. If I want it, I get, oh, like, I know I'm so proud of you because the mindset work you guys has been just so tremendous and such a testament to you and the actions you put in place. Because it wasn't the case before, right? It was like, I need to eat all of this, or I'm going to order the thing. I need to eat everything despite how my body feels. And that I think came a lot from a lot of emotional things that you didn't know how to work through, which we then gave you better coping strategies for your emotions as well. But it's just incredible. Like, how do you feel kind of looking back now from where you are
Oh,
now? We haven't even talked about where you are now. We will in a second, but when you look back at that version of you, what kind of comes to mind?
I mean, it's first of all, first and foremost, I honestly, truly never thought I would be at this point. I mean, I never thought it was possible for me. Like, it almost makes me feel
Mm.
emotional because it's just something that I never thought. I can remember watching people like turn down a piece of cake, or they just said no, no thanks. I'm like, how can you do that? It's here, it's right here. How can you not eat it, or how can you not finish it? And but now that I've taken that the power away, I give myself permission to have a smaller serving or a smaller piece, knowing again, if I'm still hungry or if I want more, I can go back and get more. It's okay. It's just food. But I started really trying to pay attention to how my body felt, and almost had to shift my focus from weight loss to vitality and how I felt. And I think for me personally, when I started focusing more on that, the weight loss was almost like a side effect of those changes that I had made. So I mean, I'm proud. I'm proud of how far we've come. And I can remember things. Another thing that you had told me that really stuck with me was I would plan my workouts for the week. Like, okay, I'm going to do 3 workouts for an hour and, 14 and a half minutes or whatever, and 3 days a week. And if I didn't have enough time to commit to that full time at the gym, I just wouldn't go to the gym. And I think you used the analogy at the time of the flat tires. Like, if you
Oh,
have
the
one flat
car.
tire, are you going to go out and flatten the rest of your tires? Just go for as long as you can. So, and I know you talked about habit stacking and those kind of things. And as ridiculous as it felt at the time when I really started to get back into the swing of things, I remembered that. And I started my activity again with just committing to 5 minutes a day.
Yep.
Remember, I started on the elliptical, five
Yep.
minutes.
And that's okay. Like you guys listening, you're probably like, what, why? Like, what's the point of 5 minutes? But the power of just building that habit to show up is huge. If you guys hear a sound in the background, I'm so sorry. I think someone's mowing the lawn, of course, at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But all good. We'll keep going. But yeah, the power of that is unbelievable. And it's incredible to see also. I think for you, a really big struggle was you are that type A, like very plan specific person, to learn to adapt and be flexible, to learn, because we never cut out, even going back to the Chick-fil-A, for example, we never cut out you eating out because you're very busy. It was almost like a necessity for you sometimes to stop and pick something up, but it was more about learning like what to choose, how often, what those scenarios could look like. And I think you were shocked that you're like, I'm still eating Chick-fil-A, but I am making progress and making better progress. And then, like you said, with
I
the
had
dream,
Chick-fil-A yesterday.
yeah. Listen, I love a good Chick-fil-A. I think I had, when was that, a week or two ago? Like I love it. I'm such a foodie in that sense, so I relate. But also going from, hey, if I just show up and do 5 minutes of my workout today, maybe I'll do more, but I just feel like I don't want to do it. Maybe I'll just do 5 minutes. I can't tell you
Mhm.
how many times I get to the gym and I'm like, oh, okay, I just did 3 exercises today. That's all I had time for. My kids wouldn't get out the door, and that was it. Did I
Yeah.
finish my workout? No. But maybe I can add the rest in later this week, you know? So I think that is such a powerful tool that,
Yeah,
you know,
for
you
sure.
learning to adapt, right? That you took away with you. I think it's amazing.
Yes. um, yeah, for sure. And I think another big and so now obviously I'm doing much more activity. Like, I just gradually build upon that. Once getting out of bed at that time every morning, because I was getting up, a good hour earlier. Well, first a half an hour, and then I pushed it back as I increased my time. But it just felt easier. And once it felt easy and I was interested in doing more, I just added a little bit more. And I really did take it slow. And now I hate when I'm walking outside because it's not winter time and it's nice out. But I really miss it on the days that I can't go. And I think a big part of my issue with the planning, and like you said, I was really all about the plans, um, was when I would make my plans for my eating or my activity levels or whatever. I always seem to make plans based on those days that are just like the perfect days where I get off work on time and I'm in a great mood and I'm prepared. And I made my plans based on those days. And I think we all know that those days are actually more rare
Mhm.
than the days where we're running late or we have a headache or one of our kids are sick or, we have to work over. And so I had to kind of base my plans on my worst day and not my best day.
Yes.
And that enabled me to succeed. So instead of constantly having more evidence that I would fail, I started to collect evidence that I was going to succeed, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. It's such a big expectation shift of let's use an example of I have to do 5 workouts this week at this time and at this. Okay, well, is two good enough? Is three good enough? Like just switching that expectation. And then you're like, oh, I did the thing. I actually did. I check in with you this week and I'm like, yes, I did that.
I
And
can
even though
do it.
you can do it. You're like, I did the 5 minutes. Like, yeah, like that is amazing. And you're right. Like, that is such a powerful thing that you build. And then you're like, all right, well, let's make it longer. Let's add the next thing. Like, what's the next thing I can do instead of setting before you were just setting these unrealistic expectations with like crazy low calories, a ton of training, and it just never obviously went to plan, So
No.
it's like you feel like I've been there too, where you're like, I'm always failing. I'm not achieving this. And then is this even possible for me? Like a lot of people I think get stuck in that. So I think it's really awesome that you highlight that the baby steps are really important. And I want to then shift to real quick, like, wait, there's so much to cover, but where you are now, because it's such a different version of you. I'm almost like, who is this version? Like I remember version one, and you've just continued to evolve. So I'd love to know where you are now and also some of the challenges too, because you are in a different stage of life with hormones and things and all the fun stuff
Yes.
coming up.
Oh, yes.
So
For
let's talk
sure.
about that.
Well, those one of my biggest struggles I we haven't touched on yet was my nighttime eating. And I had a real issue with binging at night, if you remember.
Yes.
And a lot of the techniques that I learned through you for stress management were very helpful. And honestly, just kind of sitting with those feelings, which is a very scary thing to it's difficult for me sometimes being such a busy person and with the kids and everything to sometimes transition into relaxation, to just stop moving and stop having to be doing something all the time. So that's a struggle. And I think and after everybody went to bed, that was my time. That was my quiet time to sit and watch whatever I wanted on television. It wasn't on Nickelodeon or whatever. And and just kind of, yeah, be me. But while I was doing that, unfortunately, I mean, there were times when I could take in a couple thousand calories in 30 minutes, because it was emotional eating and that end of the day release. But that was very difficult. It took me quite some time to move past that. And the stress management was big. And also, had to talk to myself kind of and had to out loud say, no, you're not going to do that. I even had to say to myself until I believe it, that's okay. These were coping mechanisms that served some sort of purpose for you in the past, Kim. and they're no longer serving you. They're hurting you. So we're gonna do something else. And so we did those things, and there's still times today where I'll want to walk out to the kitchen, and sometimes I'll grab a piece of dark chocolate or something at night, and that's okay.
Mhm.
But I haven't binged in so long, I can't remember when was the last time. And when I start to get those kind of thoughts, I actually say out loud sometimes, you don't do that anymore.
Mhm.
That's not you anymore, and that's a very empowering feeling too. But some of the other things that we've talked about, some of the lies that I told myself, and by no means am I minimizing anyone's actual health issues, but for me, uh, it was a lot of excuses and justifications. I told myself that, I was actually approaching perimenopause and going through that. So the hormone changes were to blame. Um, my metabolism was slowing down. Perimenopause, that's what it was. My cortisol was elevated. That had to be it. Insulin resistance, that's it.
Everything,
So,
anything and
yeah,
everything was the
it was
whole.
everything and all. And I'm sure, and like I said, again, there are people that actually do have issues, but in my case specifically, I went and I spoke with my provider and I said, can we check these things? Because I wanted to see, okay, if I really have these health issues, I want to address them first and foremost. Take control over the situation. Well, surprise, everything was normal. So,
Interesting.
damn, there went all my excuses.
But it's so I love that you are so honest about that, because so many women will sit there and say it's all of these other factors without
Mhm,
even getting the tests done,
mhm.
and then you're like, oh, okay, it's me. It's actually my habits. Whereas, like
Right.
you said, it's important to highlight that, we do go through real health issues, women, perimenopause or hormonal issues or anything else, and that can make the process more challenging for those
Mhm.
people, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. It's still doable. However, like you said, it's like I went and got checked. I got it in black and white. The data doesn't lie. Like we need to see, like, oh, everything's good. So what is it? Like what is happening? Then what did you think? Where you're like, oh, okay, it is it me? Like what am I doing wrong? Like what were your thoughts?
Well, I had mixed feelings. I mean, obviously, I was happy that I didn't have any actual health issues relative to those types of things. And like you said, it's not to say that it does not make things more challenging. I'm sure that there's some changes to metabolism. There's definitely some, like I mentioned before, age associated changes to my activity levels and those types of things. And the fact that I'm so busy that I eat out more than I should, or especially then. Um, I just make better choices now. Like I said, I had food out yesterday, but I just had a sandwich. I rarely order French fries anymore. I get a side salad or an extra vegetable, and then I just have like water or unsweetened tea. I just made changes to what I order. I will pack half of my food away in advance. I spend more time connecting with the people I'm with, and I'll have like a coffee or a tea at the end of the meal to kind of signal the end of the meal to myself. So just some little things that I've learned that help me kind of make better choices with the food. But anyway, yeah, I was happy that nothing was wrong relative to my physical health. But yeah, it was kind of like, well, crap. Now it's all on me. I'm going to have to really just buckle down and make some changes. But it's empowering. It is. And I think once we get past that point, and I know I was so resistant in the beginning that, I just know that I was, and I laugh about it all the time because, well, you have the patience of a saint. Because I still, like, I had started working with you, but I still, in this part of my brain, thought I knew better. It was so ridiculous because clearly I did not. But I knew that I was the exception. That wasn't going to work for me. And as soon as when I finally stopped resisting, that's when things really started to turn around for me, when I opened up to really hearing what you were saying and implementing the things, no matter how small they felt. And it's almost like the snowball effect, that when you get a few of the things in place, it just goes faster and faster, and things just feel easier and easier. And I hate to say the word easy relative to weight loss or wellness in general, because in many ways it's not easy. It's very, very hard, but it can be so much easier than we think. It
Yeah,
really
it's
can if we.
hard before it gets easy. Like you have to put in the work and the practice, and then you're like, oh, this feels second nature now. Because for me,
Mhm,
I love that you share all that. Because for me, my perspective, because we've worked together in two different time frames,
mhm.
I was like, this feels like coaching a whole different person. It was really interesting. This time it was very different. I was very much just guiding you in a different direction. It wasn't as nitty-gritty as it was the first time, which was like very, really cool to see. I was just so proud of you. I'm like, wow, like look at all the skills you have and that you're
Uh,
implementing, and I'm just guiding you in the direction. So like you're in a great place right now. I know you're still working on fat loss, but you're very much also worked on intuitive eating skills and being in tune with your body. Like, how do you feel now that you've got to that place? Because I know that you never thought you were going to get there before.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I was like, there is no way I'm ever going to be successful at intuitive eating. I mean, how many times I said to myself, intuitive eating is what's gotten me into this mess, you know? And gosh, it's really sad when you think about what diet culture has done to us, all the things that are so ingrained in the backs of our minds that we have to clear all that out. But, and this is the first time this go around I actually was okay sitting in a maintenance period for several months, kind of just like, now I want to work on my strength. And so I feel so, so hopeful, and I feel like, not that I don't still have my days, but it's just a day now. It's not like I'm off the rails. I might as well wait until Monday, might as well wait until New Year's, you know. I would do different things like, oh, just getting back on track in the middle of the week. That's a huge win. I never used to do that. And now I feel, and I don't know if this is definitely not the right way to say it, but I feel like a quote unquote normal person feels around food now.
Yeah.
My life doesn't revolve around it. I feel in control. It's the most amazing feeling. I wish I could bottle it up and share it with everyone. I really do.
It's interesting like that. I always revert back to like when your kids are little, how do they're like whatever, they'll eat a bite of a sandwich and go, I'm done, see you later. Or they'll eat
Yeah.
like two spoons of ice cream and be like, I'm done, whatever. Like they're so neutral about food because they're like whatever. And then we get to this place where it's just so extreme and you forget that we should have those same cues and
Yeah.
feelings around food where it's not consuming us, but it's just a part of our lives. And I love that you've got, I relate to you so much on that. And I'm so happy that I've been a part of the process for you to get there because that was me too. So I really resonate with that, where it's like, I never thought I'd be in a place where I'm like, literally can eat whatever I want today, not in quantity,
Yeah.
obviously, but
Uh-huh.
um, like it's not a big deal. Or I'm done and I'm done.
Yeah.
My husband looks at me like, "You're not gonna eat the rest of your pizza," and I'm like, "I'm full, man. Like, what do you want
Yeah.
from me? I'm full. Like, I'm done."
Yeah.
You
I'm
know?
good.
So,
And you don't want, and a lot of people talk about this, but it's so true that I actually I heard, I think it was my son said something like, this is bad. I shouldn't eat this. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
whoa, red flag. Whoa, whoa.
Yeah, yeah. Like that was one of the things that prompted me to make a change, because I thought I didn't talk about that stuff in front of my kids. Like I thought I was shielding them, but apparently, they just pick up on so much. And that's something I definitely didn't want to instill in my son or my daughter, obviously. So I think they've come around to no, I can have whatever I want. I'm just going to choose what makes me feel good. And I know that if I have a day where I eat out a couple times in that day or eat more than what my body needs, I feel terrible now. And I used to think that that made me feel good. Like these foods make me feel good. That's why I eat them. And well, that's a lie. They do not make me feel good. I mean, maybe in that brief period of time as they're crossing your lips, this gives you some type of comfort. But it makes you feel terrible. So I'm actually anxious for the next meal to get back to eating something that makes me feel fueled and healthy as opposed to sleepy and lethargic. So that's a big change for sure too.
That's
I don't
huge.
know, I just like finally broke that vicious cycle. It's,
Oh, it's so good. Like I'm so happy when to hear you talk about this. Like and just going back to your kids, because your kids are in school, so they're a little older than
Mhm.
my kids are like still babies. So I'd love to hear your perspective on how this has shifted things for you as a mom, especially single mom, because you are their everything, right? You are
Mhm.
there every moment for them. How has this changed things for you, or how you show up as a mom, how you show up for yourself?
Oh, I mean, so much. I am now, and that was another big thing too, because I found myself sitting on the sidelines a whole lot with my kids for a couple years. And of course, as I started losing weight, my feet started feeling better, and I started going back to the gym and the regular activity. And now it's like, now they go for walks with me. And it's great because it's time. And a lot of times it's just one or the other of them goes, and it's one-on-one time that we have that we don't. And having two kids, like they're always vying for attention. And they're so different when you just have one of them with you at a time.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's something that we enjoy doing together. Other times I like just listening to a podcast or listening to a book, or but but just I'm more present now. I jump on the trampoline with my son, and we just are doing so many more things. We all got new hiking boots this year, and we're
Yes.
planning some hikes and different things. It just has changed everything. Everything has changed in all the best ways.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm so happy for it. It like how you interact with your kids is completely different by the sounds of things. Like it's wild
Oh,
to
for
think
sure.
that day one when it is like that much has changed. But even just speaking to you guys, like speaking to Kim, like she's this vibrant person, but you weren't always this. Your energy has shifted so much, and it's just so really cool to see. I'd love to hear from you though. If there was someone who was in your position in the beginning or in a similar position, and like you said, you were just like spinning your wheels and putting it off, what would you, if there's someone that's in a similar space to where you were and they were sitting on the fence, like what would you say to them?
I would say, I mean, just stop and think about how long you've been spinning your wheels or how many times you've gone back and forth, and just give yourself permission because the time's going to pass anyway. Give yourself permission. I mean, maybe not a year. I gave myself a year, and I'm so glad that I did. Maybe 6 months. I'm going to try this. This is not how I've done it before, but I'm going to give this a chance and really and truly give it a chance, and maybe be okay with because I know a lot of times we tell ourselves, if I don't see results right away, I lose my motivation.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I said that so many times, and my friends say that, and I'm like, but what if it was okay to just feel better? The weight loss will come. Don't worry about that, because I put it off for a very long time, thinking I need to lose this weight so I can feel better, not realizing that I could choose to feel better now. Like I
Oh,
don't have to
wait.
wait.
Can we just let that sink in for a second? That was so important and powerful. Like, so many people feel like that. If I'll just lose the weight, not everything will be better instead of let's feel better now, and the weight loss will come as we. Oh, that was yes, 1,000% yes. You're so true. But yeah, I love that. I love that. And that you feel this way now is absolutely incredible. I'm so proud of you, Kim.
Oh, thank you. I'm so thankful. But yeah, that just giving something else a chance and really, really, as crazy as it sounds, start with something so small. Start with something very small. It'll make you feel good. It makes you feel like you can do this. And then just gradually add to it because we all want to feel happy. We want to feel good. We want to feel healthy. We want to feel happy. And we can start experiencing those things now. We don't have to wait. And it made the whole experience more enjoyable. And it's just like you said, my energy, it is different because I felt in such a low place when we first started working together, so like hopeless in a way. um, I mean, I've always been a generally pretty happy person, but I was feeling very frustrated with my health at that time. So just to take some control, no matter how small it is absolutely worth it. Yeah.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. Anybody listening, I really hope that this inspired you, her story inspired you in some way. I just think it's wonderful to hear all these perspectives and how much it's impacted you, Kim, and change. Like, and I'm excited to see you continue to change. So, if you're anyone who's struggling or stuck, feel free to either reach out to Kim. I'm sure she's happy to have a chat with you. Reach out to me. We're always here to help. And this is what this platform is here for. So thank you so much, Kim, for joining me. I appreciate it. And you guys, will
Sure.
catch you on the next one.